Hey everybody, welcome to episode 146 of the Bonehead podcast, where we talk all things Blood Bowl. And jingle, welcome back. I'm Ben, and once again I'm joined by Blood Type Ben. BT, how you doing today?
Doing very good, thank you.
That was mostly confident.
Yeah, I've got to overcompensate for the energy because my energy is not there. So I just thought I'd go in at 150% and then maybe it'll...
Caffeine.
Yeah, that's what I need.
Caffeine will do it.
3 coffees already today. It's not doing it.
And we're also joined by Ian Triple Pal Triplo, the connoisseur of wands. Trips, you doing all right today?
Doing very well, thank you.
He is.
All good here.
He is full of energy.
Bear.
That was normal.
Which is very cool. And we have resurrected Milton.
Hello.
Milton, how are you? Welcome back.
From a jailbreak.
Well, I wasn't going to bring it up, but yeah, I mean, a cease and desist was quite, quite clear about that. So yeah, no more prison jokes, just necromancy.
Yeah, well,
to be fair,
the Isle of Wights.
And you are a pretty potent undead coach.
Getting there. Getting there slowly.
You're running them in the league, aren't you?
I am, yeah. It's good fun.
There you go. Vindication. Okay, BT, slightly unusual episode for today. We talk all things Blood Bowl, and sometimes we don't talk things Blood Bowl. What are we going to be talking about on 146?
Yeah, we're going to talk about our little day we had to play some one-page rules. We tried an entirely new game to most of us, just to have a bit of a palate cleanser. And I think we'll kind of touch on that and expand upon that and how important I think that is. Yeah, but it was good.
Definitely. I've entitled the episode A Blood Bowl Holiday, one-page rules. But before that, we'll catch up on some hobby and some news. Okay, hobby, games, buying, printing, painting. Ben, have you painted anything?
Yeah, I've been doing lots of work. For the uninitiated, I paint full time now.
Hence the energy.
Yeah. I'm just currently finishing off a job for C Studios. It's just in the corner of the camera. I think it's maybe the head of something here. Yeah, I'm just working on a bunch of Tau battle suits, which is actually really fun. I've enjoyed this one a lot. It's quite nice to paint something that's so clean and hard surface, which is normally not what I do. It's been a good challenge, and I think they look pretty good. So I've been smashing through that. I did paint a little bit of Conquest as well, because me and a few friends, we had a sort of annual, biannual weekend, which is kind of like what we did, but it's for 4 days rather than one. And they came over and we just smashed a bunch of board games, played an RPG, played a really good RPG that just won an award at Gen Con called Eat the Reich, which is amazing. You play as a bunch of vampires to go and drink all of Hitler's blood. You cough and drop into occupied Paris and kill a bunch of Nazis. It's fantastic. Really good RPG, just won a bunch of awards. So yeah.
Okay.
I mean, is the game good, or is that just more of a, it's hard,
ultra-violent.
It's very difficult, even in England this week, to be not kind of anti-Nazi.
Yeah, it's very, very well timed.
Very apt.
And very, very therapeutic as a result.
Yeah, with all those vampires running around our streets at the moment with placards. Today is the undead-themed episode.
Yeah, fortunately so.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's about it for me. What about you guys?
Well, I mean, we've been printing, haven't we, guys? Because thanks to the combined work of everybody here, especially Trips with his admin, and you two guys with the printers and the organisation, the shop is, I would say, back up and back on track. So as a one-man band, it's hard to keep things in track, and then you go and have a child, and then you try and do other stuff, like have a job, and it all falls apart very, very quickly. However, thanks to you guys, you have combined and formed Voltron, and the first kind of week, we haven't launched the shop as such. I guess we kind of had in the Discord, but because we wanted to just get it going, getting up and running again, and making sure that we can kind of manage it across continents, Milton, and it's gone really well so far. It's been really fun. It's been really nice to have orders come in and be like, oh, I've only got to print one team today, which is very, very, very lovely. So yeah, the shop is up and running. So thank you to you guys getting it up and getting it organised, and it's a lot of fun so far. Ooh, so
yeah, we'll stress if you are listening. You're just like, oh, I did order something. We maybe not received. Do let us know because we'll get on it right away.
yeah,
So,
straight away.
trying to iron all that out.
Yeah, which has been really, really, really good fun. So yeah, we've been printing some orders, and let me see if I flip over here. I bought a thing. I've not had a chance to use the thing, but with a view of like getting some terrain and stuff done for OPR days and things, I bought myself a little air gun. So I was like, I paint like brush tithe. With my
It's a
air gun.
massive time saver. I'm glad to see you have it for that pitch.
Yes.
Yeah, big stuff becomes significantly less daunting, and terrain and things like that. It's a lot easier.
I haven't managed to find any time to turn it on other than to just check the pressure or start using it. But I mean, hey, there's opportunities in the future. So yeah, my hobby thing has been buying an air brush, and it'll probably sit there for a while until I get this random opportunity. You know what I'm like? I have bursts of like, oh my god, there's a quiet window of 6 hours, and then I just go and paint like 2 units or something. So that'll be my goal. That's my little hobby wonder. Trips. I know you've been busy getting ready for holiday.
Holiday, but I did some collecting, if collecting from hobby counts. I collected the new Necromunda box set, which is looking at me going, come on, assemble me now, which is quite good fun. Lots of lovely lore and another rule book, just because what do I need is another Munda rule book.
The worst thing in the world they could do would be to reboot Necromunda, wouldn't it?
Well, that would be terrible.
Necromunda season 3 and all those books would be dead.
An entire Calyx cube that's just eviscerated. Then.
Yes, and then some hobby reading, because obviously what you do when you're sitting in the sun is you take a sci-fi RPG away to read, and then I did a little bit of printing for a future OPR day and tested the plastic printer for basings, and I've got to say, passed the base test very nicely.
They looked super crisp. They looked super crisp. I was really impressed with that. Your bamboo is just awesome anyway, isn't it?
I want Ben.
It's on the to buy list. It's on the to get list at some point, but I'll have to re-optimize the space for that one. Yeah, but it's fine. It's fine. At the moment, we can trick Trips into doing some stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Can it do this?
I do need a mount for my label printer. I have a file for you, Trip. So there you go. I'm already commissioning you for.
There we go.
See, I just use duct tape, but we've got Milton back. We were able to steal him for an episode. We did some rescheduling of the podcast, and we haven't been able to grab Milton so often. But Milton, have played any games, done any printing, done any painting, done anything cool?
Done a lot of printing, and actually I have done some painting. I've been painting the Nurgle team for the channel, which has been nice. Actually, yeah, I've quite enjoyed that. They've been coming out well. I've been following some guides on YouTube around sort of like the death card aesthetic. But then I also decided to challenge myself, because I always feel that my style of painting is quite dark. I've been watching a lot of different YouTubers, particularly Squidmar said, don't use washes. So I was like, okay, so I've got
Get
Luther.
him gone.
I've got Luther, and I've painted him really bright, and I decided to use the Homelander's colours from the boys.
Nice.
Oh wow.
But he is looking a little bit like Ronald McDonald at the moment rather than Homelander. It's getting there though, and it's been really interesting, like not using washes.
What's the game plan here then? Is it literally just to have a model that looks like crayon?
Well, start like much brighter, and then work darker colours into the recesses to shadow it, and then highlight over the top, rather than just using a wash.
I was going to say a good bridge to it is like using something to pin shade. So like oils are really good for it, but if you don't want that,
how is that not a wash?
Because it's applied. You're not putting it over the whole thing. You're not touching the paint that's below. You're just in every corner, just thin line with the wash. I've been using actually it's
With a
new,
wash.
the Pro
There you go.
Black wash. Really, really good for that.
Have we got
it
your
doesn't,
affiliate link? Or is that
Yeah,
just for
no,
white
not quite.
paints?
I mean, they have one for pretty much every single YouTuber, so maybe one day.
Need to do some better
Yeah.
networking here.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Green.
Do
Look,
that,
I mean,
that kind of
trying a
style,
new
so we'll
method
see how it goes.
is really cool. Like that's something that I think we've all talked about sometimes, isn't it? Where I think Ben, when we did the Hangover Bowl, when you ran Hangover Bowl, you did the Nurgle Orc team,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
you were
I
like,
remember.
I'm going to try this grungy method that I've not used before. And it's really cool to like just pick up a new project and be like, I'm going to try this method on these
Yeah,
guys.
Take models, let's just go for it. Yeah.
Which is
Well, actually, I think the star player was kind of like the perfect choice for that. I just wanted to do something different. I really wanted to utilize my airbrush, so all of the like red capes and stuff have been with the airbrush. And then I was like, this is one model, so I don't have to replicate this. I can just do it, job done. Like,
learn from it, move on.
Learn from it, move on. So I was like, yeah, it's a perfect candidate for it.
Did you ever
And
try the
hopefully-
underspray method? Because you were talking about trying that a little while ago.
Yeah, I've not got around to that yet. I was going to do that with the snotlings, but they've kind of taken a. Well, they've
Is
kind
that
of
like
been
where you've got
benched.
like a different, like a contrasting color from underneath?
Yeah, so I was going to go purple underneath and then green on top because I've seen people do that with orc skin and that looks really nice. Then Brute Fun's now done his snotling team
It's a
and it looks so good.
Well, he's done the first half of the snotling team.
Well, yeah.
Um,
And so I feel like my GW one might never make it. to that
I'm gonna replace the two Tiny Titans. Like they are gonna get replaced by Brute Funds.
Gonna get a glow up.
I think so. I
Nice.
think it's
You have
it's
a
time.
dedicated trumpets now.
They
thanks.
Yeah,
do,
I know. That was one thing I said to him. I was like, you need a model with a trumpet because I want to use your team, and we need trumpets back at some point in the league. And he was like, okay, hold my ZBrush, which I'm assuming is what he uses. I don't know. What does he use, Ben? I think you've had this chat with him.
I
Haven't
think
you?
he uses Blender.
Oh, Blender. Oh, Blender's all right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's free ZBrush. It's great.
Yeah, we do like free. Wicked. Yeah, so there's some good hobby stuff, and of course we did get our game day in, which was a lot of fun. But I tell you what, we'll move into that in a second. We do need to address a couple of things. One, sorry we had to skip the Bonehead Championship. I've got either food poisoning or something else. It was miserable, and there was no way I was having people around. No way I was having people around. So I was like, right, okay, well, first of all, last time this happened, my household took turns in being considerably poorly, and I was like, that's not going to happen. And then I was like, well, I'm going to spread it to the guys, especially with Trips is on holiday and Ben just working 24/7. I was like, this is going to be a very bad thing. And also, I didn't really want to MC while potentially playing Catch the Breakfast. So we took an opportunity to skip that one, and then we do have a bye week this week, which was a planned bye week because everybody's busy or on holiday. But the thing I need to address is that I am not on holiday. Trips is on holiday. Ian is on holiday. Craig is on holiday. I am not on holiday. Therefore, we probably won't see a preview of a Blood Bowl team because I've seen a couple of comments being like, "Oh, Ben's on holiday. Must be time for a new team."
True. It's all planned.
I do have a week off in October and a week off in December. So October, guaranteed. Guaranteed. Like the first week of October, it's Tiff's birthday and our wedding anniversary. And I guarantee you, wherever we end up, there will be a preview. But
Makes for a good background.
I'm hoping that Trips gets one, though. I'm hoping that they drop something pops through.
Yeah.
Because there is a preview, isn't there? But it's just the Age of Sigmar.
It's just Age of Sigmar wrap up on something.
Well, I mean, to continue
fair,
the undead theme, yeah, Age of Sigmar. Bless them. DOA that one a little bit in the community, because you know, I think we've backfilled it. I think the proper Warhammer players have moved back onto the old world or have moved forward to OPR. Age of Sigmar is cool, great models for the most part, interesting lore because it's different. But yeah, Blood Bowl is the superior Games Workshop game.
Absolutely.
But that is probably the last time we talk about Blood Bowl for this episode. So we'll take a quick break and be right back with non-Blood Bowl stuff. Okay, so Ben, Ben is a polygamer, which is not a slur. There will be no more rioting about this. Ben is a polygamer. Ben loves all games.
Polygamous.
Polygamous.
He's
Ben,
a game tart. He just flits around and teases everyone.
Yeah.
Game Magpie. Game Magpie.
Yeah.
I will say, however, Trips is definitely up there as well because he's got his little book to take on holiday, and there is nothing better than just like sitting there with a game book on holiday, imagining all the things you'll read and then never use.
It keeps all the entertainment stuff well away from me.
My highlight was on a holiday with Tiff, and she was like, "No, bring books," and I was like, "Okay," and I brought this fighting fantasy choose your own adventure book. So I'm there on the beach reading this choose your own. Oh, it was wicked. It was really
It's
cool.
been a real nostalgia trip.
It was so
that's like
good.
being a kid.
It was so good. I love those books. Ever since I sort of had like a Super Mario Brothers one. But yes. So, but I think when we had Wobble, Ben, you played. You talked about OPR, and I think you.
Yeah, I played it with Sam.
Yeah, you waterboarded a couple of people
And
into trying it.
Ian, I think I played it with Warhammer.
I think you did, yeah. The non-40k version.
Yeah.
So, Ben's played the game. He's talked about the game. Mostly kind of goes on about Conquest, which is played using garden gnome-sized models. And and I've been backing them for a while because they make some fantastic minis. Like the value is nonsense. It's dumb. It really is dumb. They do fantasy stuff and sci-fi stuff and terrain every single month, which is really cool, and they've got all these rules and stuff, and they're called one-page rules. They cover a whole bunch of different games. Spoiler alert, the rules are barely they're 2 pages really, so technically
it fits on a single page if you print on both sides.
Yeah. But there is an advanced rule book now on Trips that is 49 pages long. But most of it is either some clarifications just to help people, or just like there is a binge full of like optional rules, which I love. And like that's just really cool. So they've got Age of Fantasy, which is their fantasy one. They've got Age of Fantasy Regiments, which is square-based stuff. They've got Age of Fantasy here, which is units but on round bases, so kind of your Age of Sigmar like look of the units. They've got Age of Fantasy Skirmish as well, which is the skirmish version. Then they've got Grim Dark Future, which is the 40k analogous one. Then they've got Grim Dark Future Firefight, which is the skirmish version. And then they've got Warfleets, which is the spaceship one. They've got Quest as well, which is a solo co-op version of like a skirmish thing, which I'm very excited to try in the future. In October, they're dropping the sci-fi one, so I think that'll be really cool to do. It's all just kind of light gaming, with a view that the models are it's model agnostic, and it's just a way to play with whatever models you've got. And they're doing a really good job building their brand and building their worlds and stuff like that. But they, like Tano, the lead man, he's like, I don't care what models you're using, just play games. Like, yeah, if you want to support us, great. But otherwise, just get models that you've had on your shelf, you've had in your cupboard, you've had in Tupperware boxes under the stairs, Milton, and bring them out. So he said, right, what we're going to do is we're going to have a day, because you know we work hard at the podcast stuff, we work hard at real life jobs, and like I think we've talked about this before. There's this content creator burnout that people talk about, and I think we're all right, but there's that kind of element of whenever you meet up with friends, you know, you do a podcast in real life, Ben. It's like, oh, what should we film? What should we film? So we've had a few times where we've got together in tournament or something, and we filmed this or filmed that, or wanted to film something, and we got there when we did the 7 stuff, didn't we, guys? We were like, we caught up and we were like, do you know what? I think we just want to hang out and play games today because it's good for us. And we thought, well, if we're going to do that, then we could play a different game. So we did. So we were like, right, we're going to bust out a couple of games of Age of Fantasy from one-page rules. Now, the rules are free online. The big one, it comes with the Patreon. So if you want to go and like have a look at it, it's a really simple game. Like it's got the list building is the best thing here. But But yeah, so what were your guys' thoughts on us spending a day, Milton, playing a game that isn't Blood Bowl and not recording it, not making any content at all, even though we're having a podcast talking about it? But that's only because we had a good time. What were your thoughts on that versus what we normally do, which is like get together and film 3 games, go, go, go?
Oh yeah, it was great. It was super refreshing. It was great to come and see you guys because I don't get to do that so often these days. And yeah, just to kind of relax, to play some games with some minis. I mean, I know you joked about the Tupperware boxes, but literally the minis I brought with me, I painted in 2020. So it was like at the start of the pandemic, and they went straight into a box, and they've never left since. So that was the first time they'd ever seen the table, which was really, really nice. And yeah, kind of like I think from like a kind of creative perspective as well, it was good to kind of do something different, kind of have a different angle. I love the Blood Bowl stuff. I think that's undeniable, but sometimes I think it can be maybe a little bit limiting in kind of your perspective of what you can do with the miniatures range, maybe with painting or with the hobby aspect of things. So yeah, it was great to kind of see the potential of what can be done.
Hobby potential and gaming potential is something that is so big in the war games industry. I mean, trips, I think you've probably got the biggest STL library of all of us, which is saying something. And I said, like, don't worry, I've got some armies printed for this. But did you spend some time going, like, how did you look at it first, Ace? Because you've not played a fantasy big war game before, have you?
So I've never played a war game before. Never played anything larger than a skirmish game. So it was really interesting going into it in terms of the different scale of like army building, effectively instead of roster building. What I've really enjoyed, and I think we saw it in our group chat the week beforehand, how we were all genuinely interested in it. But I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to read the rules and get into the rules. And I'm used to like, I'll pick up a Necromunda rule book and I'll see you in 4 hours, as opposed to I've just read the rules and I think I know how to play the game, and that took me 10 minutes.
I read them on the ferry over.
Yeah,
Like,
I
literally.
remember having the exact same thing the night before. Just like, oh crap, I don't read it. And then it was like, yeah, you're right. 10 minutes later, oh yeah, no, this is
Yeah, there was some stuff that came up in the course of the game, but it was kind of like that's something I thought was really interesting because like the rules are really simple, and the roster building, oh, it's wonderful. So I think this is something that I gush about because like CCGs, TCGs, one of the best things is deck building. Building a Blood Bowl team, right? When you're playing Blood Bowl, playing in tournament or league, you're brewing up your roster. If you're going to a tournament, then you spend ages like, right, what roster, what skills, how do I tune this just right? And then you go to OPR, where they've got this insane builder with like, for Age of Fantasy, they've got all the races that are in Warhammer, all the races that are in Sigmar, all the races that are in Mantic Kings of War. So it's just like anything you want. And you can blooming combine them, which is something we didn't do, which I think is probably good for all of our sanity. But like building the rosters is just wicked. There's not a ton of options, but there is. And then you're doing this, like this is the really interesting thing, is like I haven't seen very many videos that I kind of enjoyed watching of the OPR stuff. But reading the rules and stuff is really interesting. The units are gorgeous. Like having an excuse to print and paint a whole bunch of stuff was just really, really, really cool. And then that real genuine factor of I'm going to build this army list, 2 army lists. I've did some lizards for trips as well. I've got no idea how this is going to play out. So that was for me like a really interesting thing. Is like you go into Blood Bowl, you've got a roster and you've got a really good idea of which skills you want, why, and then you can kind of choose when to be suboptimal because you want a lower, higher ceiling. And it's like this, I had no idea. I was like, I'm just going to take one of everything, do a bit of this. I like the idea of this. Let's see how it plays. And then playing it out, you're kind of like, this plays differently. And I know that if I went back and did the rosters again, I would choose something different. I would have more Gators, more Croxigors, because they were flipping awesome. But like Ben, you'd played OPR before. So when we decided that we were going to do like a 2v2 round rumble, what went into your choice of army? Because your army was gorgeous. We'll get some pictures up in a second, actually.
Yeah, for me, it was just like using the stuff I had. Like Milton said, he had his Stormcast painted. I had my ogres done, and I just I painted these up for Age of Sigmar. but I've kind of lost a lot of interest in that game lately, as I think a lot of people have. And so yeah, for me, it was just nice to get these out in a similar way to Milton. But with OPR, like I've been championing it for a long time with as many people as I can, trying to spread the propaganda because it's just a really good game if this is what you want. So it's like, what I love about it is I think it boils down wargaming with friends to what makes wargaming with friends fun, and that is surface level simplicity with depth if you want it. And we, like we said, like we didn't have to organize everything. We just grabbed what we had. So I had my ogres, brilliant. That could be used. Milton had his stormguards, they can be used. You had some stuff printed, obviously specifically for this, but that can be used. And you can grab, you can just get whatever. And then when you turn up, you don't have to spend hours learning, flicking through rule books with turns taking so long. It's alternate activation, so everyone's involved and dynamic all the time. And then you just have a really good time and roll dice because that is what's fun. Like, it's not fun to just like try and like meta game your friend who you haven't seen in a couple of months, and then you want to just hang out, and then you just ruin his day by trying too hard. It's just it was so relaxing and so refreshing and just fun.
I think
it. Go on.
Sorry, go on, Trips.
I was going to say, I think it says a lot about the rule system that by 2 turns in, we were all into the strategy of how to play the game as opposed to how does this work? What does this do? How many dice do I do? Oh, I shouldn't have done that. We were straight into, oh, I can do this and I don't want to do that. And I do want to do this. And I really don't like those gators. And Ben's orcs are massive, and we're never letting Milton bring a dragon in this game. But we were straight into those strategy bits really quickly. So you're not spending a whole heap of time sort of almost fooling yourself and tricking yourself. You can't really trip over the rules. And the difference between something that's good and something that's not is very close in the game. It's very well naturally balanced of everything's imperfectly perfect.
Well, definitely. And I think for me, I've never played an alt activation war game before. And this was...
You never go back.
No, well, this was revolutionary because I think what you were saying there a minute ago, BT, is about the engagement of it.
Yeah.
So everyone was involved, and it was really important that you were involved consistently. One of the biggest things that I've really disliked about playing 40k or Age of Sigmar or even like old Warhammer fantasy battles was someone takes their turn and they do all their stuff, and by the time it comes back around to my turn, I've switched off and like completely zoned out, not sure what's
5
happening.
minutes have passed.
Yeah, and I kind of want to just go home at that point. There was no point during this where we weren't all engaged because every activation was a tactic. And we played. Oh, so one of the things, we haven't mentioned is the fact. So we played pairs. So we took 1,000 points each.
Yeah.
And we played 2v2. So the first round we played was myself and BT, and then we swapped it up, and it was myself and Ben. That was really cool as well because we had another dynamic to it. So there was another tactic. It was like, okay, well, if my guys go here and do this, then these guys are going to get like ruined and everything. That was revolutionary for me. And because we were all engaged in having that conversation, and because you can kind of, your opponent kind of plays off that conversation as well. So they're engaged in it. And it was just brilliant.
That was the only downtime. The only downtime was that moment when you're like, oh yeah, it's us now. Oh, it's us. It's been like 3 minutes. You've done your stuff. Oh, right, okay. Who are we going to activate? What order are we going to do this in? So I'm a massive fan of alternate activating games. Engage, my spaceship one, alternate activation, because it's just, I think, a really fun way of doing it, and you get that extra tactic bit. But it's just that like, oh, I go, then you go, then I go, then you go, and it's just kind of, it's just more involved, and it's more of a shared experience than a I punch. It's like, right, have you seen the slap championships on YouTube, where it's just like, right, I slap you, then you slap me, then that's like how I go you go kind of works. Alternate activation is you're allowed to duck, which I think makes a much better experience to play and to watch. So I thought that's a massive flag there, that the alternate activation stuff is really good.
About it as well, I would just add, is I think it happens even more in sci-fi variations. But like big part of the war game experience is looking at it, the visual thing. That's why we're playing it. Like we could play better video games if we just want to play a tactical game, but it's just like if but you don't have the really cool battlefield in front of you that's evolving. And with alternate activation you get that because things are moving around and things are flanking and like opening up gaps, and you end up with this cool tableau of units in different places having their own skirmish, which you do not get in I Go You Go like nearly as much. It's a wall advances,
Yeah.
kills half of that, so that half is never activating in the game, and then it's kind of like a counterpuncher that's just like hits. It's significantly less dynamic visually.
And the other good thing about OPR, which I personally am well on board with, is the majority of the stuff that's happening is the stuff that's happening on the board. Like there's some special rules and things, but they are on your roster, so you use their roster builder, and all the special rules are just explained. When you print off your army list, every single special rule is just at the bottom summarized, which is just fantastic. So
every rule that you need,
yeah,
I don't want to give
exactly.
You don't need.
Yeah. So if you've got ambush, it does this. If you've got this, it does this, and you just like, oh, that's what it does. So the time spent like the time spent away from the table isn't going through books to see how things work, isn't checking on this, isn't trying to activate some power over here. It's literally like, I've got this unit, I think I know what that unit does. Does that do that? Yeah, okay, cool. Right, then I want to do this with that stuff, which keeps the action on keeps your decisions and keeps your focus on what's actually happening on the board, which is what I absolutely love about Blood Bowl, right? You can look at the pitch on Blood Bowl and you can, without knowing a huge amount of what else is going on, read the situation. You go like, oh, okay, get this. OPR, I thought was actually very, very much the same. Okay, that unit's activated. Which units are left? That's the interesting choice. So, you mean you guys know? I love, I love watching stuff that's like cast. I love commentary and things like that for things that are baffling to watch. So you know, like World Chase Tag or chess. Like I love watching commentary.
Bring out the banger sports today, Ben.
Huh?
Slaps and chase tag.
Yeah, man. YouTube's wicked. Yes, and you know what? Watching the Olympics, that's been one of the things I've loved about this, is watching the commentators. So the skateboarding, the commentators did an awesome job. Tiff was like, got no idea what they're doing, but I'm excited.
540
yeah,
off the box.
It was so cool. Much better than the one where they just all cycle round really fast, which I thought was yeah.
You're on your own on that one.
Yeah, I know. I like the Star Wars costumes. Oh, do you know what? The Olympics. Did anyone watch the BMXs? The BMX racing.
No.
It looked like Mario Kart. It looked it was quite funny. It looked like Mario Kart crossed with aisle 4 of Toys R Us in the early 2000s, where there were just teenagers riding around on like children's bikes.
They should throw some pickups into there, shouldn't they? Like, here's a bottle.
Here comes the one in the Barbie car coming down. But the point is, like, you want to be able to look at a situation and tell a story that's happening, and I found that with OPR. Like, I went out, went to the toilet, went and made a cup of tea, whatever, come back in, I'm like, oh, I can see that that unit's activated, which means you've got these choices. And that narrative, I think, is incredibly visible, and that there is this anticipation of potential from every unit and trips. I remember you and I kind of looked at each other a couple of times. We were like, I want to pass the activation. I want to skip my turn because I want the other team to do stuff so that I can react.
My lots will be much better if you try and hit them. If I try and hit you, it's going to go horribly wrong.
Yeah, we made some whiffs as well on dice. My little ghost wizard was terrible, absolutely atrocious. So yeah, we played one game to learn the rules, and we kind of thought, this was on me. Ben was very much along the lines of, nah, don't worry about it, just do 1v1. And I was like, well, I'll tell you what, let's just have the 4-player game so that we can all gently learn the rules. And it got to like,
I was wrong.
No, I think I was wrong, because it was really fun. But like by round 2, I felt like we were all like, yeah, get this now. I was expecting to have I was expecting to have to play the whole game, because what I didn't want to do is be like, right, let's play, and then one person who gets it kind of ruffle stomps the other. But it got to like round 2 of the 2v2, and I was like, yeah, I get this now. And everyone was like, yeah, I get this now. But
I mean, me and Milton still ruffle stomps you guys, but yeah.
Oh, power gamers. But it was like, to Milton's point though, it was like you get to that point where the team dynamic was really cool. But Milton, now we've played a couple of games and you get how the activations work and the units work and what works well where, as opposed to just straight up what's good. I think every unit is very much a case of like, this works well at doing this. Playing a 1v1, I feel like it would be much quicker. And I feel like even just after 2 games, we could line up and play some, not competitive games, but some comfortable games where you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this now. Yeah, I want to do this now. Where you're enacting your strategy as opposed to going, let's move this over here and see what happens when you put this with this.
Yeah, I think, obviously with the paired games, there was a degree of time sunk into decision making, kind of talking about who's going to go, what we're going to do. And I think you're right. I think it was a 1v1. You pretty much, like, while the other person is doing something, you've already kind of thought about what it is that you want to do and how you're going to react based on what their choices are. So you'd make those turns a lot quicker. And because you're doing that alt activation, you're only moving one unit, you're rolling dice, and then you're on to the next thing. Yeah, definitely a lot. You could churn through a game pretty quick, I reckon. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed playing it. Well, I'd love to do some 1v1s and see how that goes. I don't think it would necessarily take away from how much fun we had playing the 2v2s, and I'd still happily play 2v2. Or like a team match. That was still quite nice, like having that discussion and like having that tactic and kind of sharing that experience.
There'd still be all of the natural stuff you get when you're gaming. You go, right, you need 5 plus saves, and then you roll 5 plus saves. There's still a Milton's playing with dodgy dice feeling.
Yeah,
I'm so
when
glad
you roll
I
a
bought
dice,
those.
either 6, and you remember, oh no, regeneration. Yeah, no, that one's fine.
Damn it!
No, it was a very different experience than Blood Bowl. Like, we get together and Blood Bowl is just the cheat code of playing a game with a story for the most part. Like, this felt like a much bigger story, and it felt like such a cool opportunity to just create stuff or dust off stuff. Like you can see in the picture here, if you're watching on YouTube, like we've got the old realm of battle, and you can see how old it is because like bits have been touched up or stripped off to try and it just, we've got unpainted terrain. That was the thing that for me was the most nostalgic, was like, hey, cool, primed models and unfinished terrain. I remember this. This is how Warhammer 6th and 5th and 4th went, and 3rd for us. And I just, really, really, really cool. The fantasy version was brilliant. Nothing felt particularly overpowered. Things felt scary, and they felt appropriately scary. So Trips, your dinosaur, was appropriately scary.
Yeah.
And the big unit of Croxagors with the Croxagor leader was also appropriately scary.
Yeah. Ben's cannon in game 2, you like, that can literally fire anywhere and run into something. It will just run over to you.
Yeah. Like the quite chill movement things. So we did some OPR fantasy, and then we're because we enjoyed it so much, we thought actually we'll talk about it on the podcast, just because actually this was a really fun thing. So before we move on to like what we're going to be doing next and why, like let's talk about the benefits of having a bit of a gamer holiday, a bit of a opportunity to get something that is, I don't know, like for me, there was an element here of like, there's a whole bunch of stuff I've got in my STL library that I don't need, like, but would be really cool to print. And this gave me a really, really good opportunity to be like, do you know what? I'm going to paint that up. I'm going to print that. I'm going to build that and lay it all out. It was just a really great excuse to like get a bunch of cool stuff out and then play games with my friends, which is a hilariously low bar to be like, you want to do this, but I thought that for me was just fantastic. And I know that's probably because, guys, we kind of like, we don't all have a huge amount of spare time. And so it's kind of like, right, we've got an evening, what do we want to do? Okay, let's live stream a game. Let's do something cool. Let's do something creative and constructive. We don't often go, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to write off a day. We're going to achieve absolutely nothing except just play stuff. And then we're going to spend a month printing and prepping for it. And it was a total loss leader. But it was such a well-being boost because it was just so cool to do.
I think it's really important to make time for that, especially as you get older, because you realize like it's. I know I'm one to talk here, but like, what should I say? But it's like life does just like speed along, and then everything you do has to become a good use of time, and because there's so little room in the day to do the things you enjoy. But I think it like booking a date in, so no one can like just be like, oh, I forgot about that, on the time. Just be like let's lock this in way in advance. We know we've got it to look forward to. We can prep anything we need to before then, but we know that when that comes around, it's just a day for you. And I think, and if I don't know about you guys, but I went home and I felt great.
I had a very
I
small
just felt
journey.
really good.
Yeah.
From it. Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. But afterwards, it was just really, really relaxing, and it's made me actually reflect, even since then, on just that work can just become really encompassing, work and life in general, and like making time for friends and things is like really, really, really important, and I really miss that. So yeah, let's not stop doing this.
Mic drop moment there from
Mm.
old man Ben.
Sorry, that felt like I was ending the podcast. No, let's carry on. I didn't mean for it to be like that.
No, I mean,
I think you're right, Ben. I mean, there was definitely the social and the well-being aspect of it is really important. There's a reason why you play games with your friends. It's because you like spending time with your friends.
Who knew?
That's half of the fun. I think the fact that it was something new as well, and I shall caveat this in carefully by going, we don't know Blood Bowl inside out. We're not all professional players. We're not new end to this, but there was a sense of new, and I don't know what's good and what's bad and how to play it and working it out. So it's
Refreshing.
that initial bit of a game in detail, and we've talked about that triumph of story and hobby and gaming, and this had all of it in quite a nice, intense social environment and detail, and there were no consequences. Yeah, you roll a bad dice, you roll a bad dice.
I wonder if that's an element of it. Like, even though we're not professional Blood Bowlers, but there is an integral pride in like, I don't want to lose this because it's Blood Bowl. Like, I don't really want to lose this. And I think you guys do a superb job on when we do the streams of being like, right, I'm going to play the best game I can play as opposed to the best way to win that I can, which I think is just a much more interesting way of doing things. But like, there was no consequences with this game because we had no idea what was going on. I had absolutely no idea. I was like, okay, I can do the stats on this. I know that 4 attacks at AP1 are statistically pretty good when you've got an attack of 4+. I was like, okay, right, okay, I know I'm going to hit twice and that's probably going to cause 0.6 wounds. I was like, I can do that, but like, I have no idea if that unit's going to get the chance to do it, whether I'm going to get the charge, whether I'm going to be able to move them. And like, I've got this little picture of a corner of our second battle because I felt like this was a really interesting one because we had like Trips's Saurus cavalry absolutely stonked in the first game, and they had a ton of attacks and did a ton of lethal stuff, and then they died quite quickly. So what Milton and I did in game 2 was like, right, we need to stop that alpha strike. So we moved some rubbish little shadow hounds over there, and they just took them out. And I was like, okay, we've learned from this. This is interesting. Like, I'm starting to understand how the units work here. But it was that total like liberty of like, I have no idea how this is going to turn out. And I think that's the stunty player ethos, because my very first NAF tournament, I took ogres because I was like, I have no idea how grognardy these people are going to be. So I'm just going to take ogres and just murder things and have a good time. And that was how I felt about that game day. I was like, I'm just going to murder things.
I think you summed up a lot of how I feel about all board games, and this is like the attitude I tend to have going into them. Is like the winning and like competition is just a vessel to move the experience forward. It's something that you're trying to do to progress the social interaction that you're having. Like if there was no winner, there'd be no point.
Yeah.
You'd be playing snakes and ladders, and so it's like the competition is the dynamic that fuels the social interaction, which is the primary objective. And so like I always feel that's so much healthier is to not worry about the outcome, but worry about the fact that the outcome is just for you to walk towards and then enjoy the journey on the way. So that's why it's easy to like not care about it, especially in like these casual settings, because it doesn't matter. You're trying to do it, but it doesn't matter. Like
It's like an Olympic theme there. It's the process that's.
Yeah, don't be rotty. Don't be results orientated thinking. Don't be that guy. No, you mean you're bang on. So we've played some fantasy, and then we had the really good discussion because we're like, oh, kind of like the idea of the sci-fi version, because you know lasers and tanks are great fun, he says, with his tank laser. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. We could do that. So we could play fantasy again, which I would be up for the challenge because we get the fantasy thing now, and now we've got an opportunity to run out some more armies. We were like, we could do the 40k, the sci-fi version of the fantasy game, or we could do some skirmishing. And Milton, what are we going to go for next on our game day? Our next non-Blood Bowl, us hanging out, playing some nonsense game day.
Grimdark Firefight. So the skirmish fantasy.
It
That's
is.
a sci-fi rather.
It is the sci-fi skirmish version, which I'm envisioning to be kind of like sevens.
yeah,
Kind of like sevens. Yeah.
Yeah, I can pretty much put the entire team on the palm of my hand. So
Yeah, I'm trying to brew up a slightly better roster, but their roster builder is just outrageous as well.
Got to say that
You know
that army builder is incredibly powerful. It's so simple, it's so easy to use, and I'm getting dangerously addicted to it. He says up to something like 15 different army lists for this already.
Yeah,
Well, it's a huge.
Sorry, Mel, what are you going to say?
It's a huge thing, isn't it? Because like we're quite blessed, I think, with Blood Bowl, third party, but like external pieces of software for managing rosters and roster building and stuff. And I know there are ones for Age of Sigmar and 40k and everything, but GW don't officially support a like roster builder kind of thing, do
I think they just switched some off actually.
And like having this just on command and it being so slick and it being 100% the updated rules coming from the source, like, and everything, it's such a huge win. Such a huge win for the game.
All the special rules being there, ready to go. As you're building your army, you just hover over a special rule and it tells you what it does. Like that was so useful because there's not that many special rules. There are some that are duplicated. They just have a different name, which works nicely. But you just hover over it and go, okay, what does slow do? Moves -2 inches when advancing or -4 inches when rushing or charging. Okay. Ambush, it's got all the rules there. Flying, what does it do? It flies. It's just, you know, you build your army, you choose your weapons. It's like, what does AP do? Okay, AP does this. And it's so useful to be like, right, how am I learning this game? How am I playing this game? And like Tripp said, like building armies and building rosters, he's like outrageously Moorish.
Oh,
yeah, super fun and super easy. Like it's like, but it's easy. Like, it's what I said before, where surface level, this game is so accessible. It's incredibly easy to jump into, but then there is a lot of depth to it. And like when it comes to list building, and then when you introduce the extra rules that you talked about with the expanded rule set, it's like suddenly you've got a lot of things you can worry about if you want to, but you just don't have to. If you just want to play games with mates, just do the one-page thing and build a list in 10 minutes.
You know what I really like about it more than anything? I've just thought about this. It was one of my biggest peeves with playing Age of Sigmar 2. When you print the view of the list, it puts all of your special rules and their explanation at the bottom. Whereas when you have something like Age of Sigmar, it's like, okay, here's my army list. But now I've got to go searching either A, through the main rulebook, or B, through my own codex to find that individual rule on a completely separate page. You end up with cards and paper and all of these things for miles. And it was just tiresome.
There's no bookkeeping here. Like the only thing you do is check your stat.
Yeah. And I was like, I remember making basically a list like that in a Word document and like going through all the pages of the book.
You did this when we did Moontown Bash time.
Yeah, exactly. I did that because I was like, I can't be flipping through like
Bad Moon Brawl. That was it. Yeah. Well, no, you're so right, because like when we tried to get into Age of Sigmar in the second edition, I remember like watching a video and the guy was like, right, what you need to do is you need to compile an index for your roster. You need to go through and be like, right, command phase, these are all the things my units can do. And I remember thinking, well, that sounds trash. And then we played it and it was trash. And I was like, oh, what a shame. What a waste of some lovely models there. And IPR were just sitting in the background going, all right, do you want to just play this? And we were like, no. Who are you, free thing?
And I was there at club being like, hey guys, do you want to play this?
With
It's
your
so
little
much
red
better. And everyone
banner.
was just like, oh, weird. That's
Yeah.
a new game. I don't want that. How wrong you all were.
It wasn't about being new. It was, do you know, it's quite interesting. I think their identity is coming along a lot, but like they have this weird mix thing where they are getting to the point where they are a premium digital game, like a digitally sourced tabletop game now. Whereas before they were just like, it's just that free game you can download and play. Like it's just a like, where it was kind of like, that's not official. Which is a really hilarious thing that we're not going to go into because that's a corker of a topic. But like now they've got some miniature lines. They've got a full army of they've got like 10 full armies, and the units have all got their stuff. And there's lore, not a ton of it, but the background is coming along, and they're building their worlds and they're building their armies, and it's becoming very much its own thing. And I think that was the push I needed. Was to be a case of like, oh, I'm going to play a thing that has an identity instead of like just this old,
like a mod.
Yeah, essentially. But it's got that great option where we had 2 printed OPR armies and 2 Games Workshop armies. And do you know what? That's the sweet spot, because Ben and Milton had armies. They were like, I've painted these and I've barely ever used them. And I can just use these. And then when you're building a roster and you're building a force trips, or if you're building some special encounters, you get to go looking at STLs and looking at models, right?
That you both get the ability to play around with stuff that you've got in your My Mini Factory, or you get the joy of being able to go, what about this in detail? What I really like is the army builder actually enables other content creators who've released stuff as well, so you can go, oh, I've got some Titanforge stuff, I have that army, and it's in the army builder now as well, so it makes it even easier to then go searching for what you've got. But the accessibility for being able to get to the board, it's not like, oh, I've got to find a box and source it on detail. It is almost impossible not to have enough minis to play this game if you have more than 5 minis.
And I tell you what, it doesn't have that like, oh, the rules for this are in this book. The rules for this are in this book. It's like literally like, here's everything. Go and find models you can use for it. The only thing I can't see on there, probably because it's only just been released, are Spirers. They've got Necromunda gangs in there, but they don't have the Spirer. They don't have stuff that works for Spirers. But the cool thing about this is you can find some rules to represent what you want that model to be, which is, yeah, and that's something we've been very good at with Blood Bowl for a very long time. I think we've all been there, like, I'm going to build this team that represents this. Like Savage Orcs is probably like one of the biggest ones, where it's like, oh cool, I'm going to get a Savage Orc team and use it to represent orcs, but also Khorne, and doing that thing. So that feels really, really, really organic with OPR.
Yeah, I mean, like, person with a gun, like, yeah, I mean, if the gun's a shotgun, cool, they're a person with a shotgun, right? That's it. It's the representation of it.
Yeah.
You could just pick it from any STL range, any, like, existing, like, manufactured army. Like, I imagine you could probably, like, pick up, like, Mantic stuff, because Mantic's relatively the same scale as...
Yeah, it is. I mean, they've even got the rules for the Mantic factions. In fact, the Shadow Stalkers...
Yeah, of course they do. Yeah,
I've got here, they originally added to the rules so that people could use their Shadow, their whatever they're called in Mantic, and then they've gone, right, okay, these are the unit archetypes, and then they're like, let's make our own army that match the unit archetypes. So the people that have that army from Mantic have got these rules, and they're doing a really cool, really, really good job of like retroactively bringing these models into line. So really good fun, and yeah, I cannot wait to play some firefight, because that's going to be quite good skirmishy. I'm hoping it's going to be like 7s with guns, which is very exciting and probably not recommended for Blood Bowl. But yeah, it was wonderful to hang out and play some games, and I'm super excited because, like, ooh, you know, what's my roster going to be? What can I print? What can I find? What model have I got in the cupboard that I'm like, actually, I can use this for this? Or like this morning, when because Craig was like, oh, this looks amazing, I want a game. I was like, okay, well, I've got some goblins. It's like, I don't have models to represent the goblin assassins. I could use spider models. It's just like it's just really creative, and it's been a really lovely sorbet, gaming sorbet as a palate cleanser. We love Blood Bowl. We love the stories of Blood Bowl. I'm brewing up a Snotling team. Milton's brewing up a Nurgle team, ready for the future for us to do more games and more stuff like that. I cannot wait for the championship to be back on Monday Night Blood Bowl, a week on Monday. Like, because Craig's coming back on, he's going to come back. Craig's coming on for the OWA match. That's going to be wicked. And like,
Blackhawks, I think, isn't it?
yes, it is, Ben. It's going to be an interesting game, that one. No pressure. But yeah, so we get to tell those stories, but it is just really fun to do something a little bit different. And that's the moral of this story, is we played some games for no value, and we just wanted to spend some time talking about it. So if you've listened to the whole podcast, thank you very much. And hopefully you're just like, actually, this is one of those episodes where we're just friends talking about playing some war games. And
Yeah.
we don't do that too often because of how busy life is. But I'm a big fan of that. Any more when it comes to this?
No, but I'm going to get you all into Conquest at some point in the future.
We need
Not
a
in the
bigger,
near future.
need a bigger
but you
table,
wait.
right?
It's coming. You'll be like, what if OPA, like when you said earlier, just like, oh, I wish I could have delayed that activation. Well, in Conquest, you can introduce a character and you can do that.
Do you know what? I think there are special rules for it in one of the
Well, there you go. They've
Yeah,
thought about it.
yeah.
I don't put it past them. They thought about everything.
The thing I really struggle with OPR is not saying OPA trips, as you'll get, and when you binge some Expanse on your holiday.
Absolutely.
I'm like, OPA, what are they going to do? They're going to steal a big spaceship. But that is spoilers. Anyway, Milt, thank you very much for coming on, for letting us steal you and having a chat. It's wicked to see you again.
Good to be here.
And yeah, Trips, PT, always nice to catch up with you guys. We're going to wrap up. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Happy gaming. Go play games. It's great. Where's the stop button? There it is. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube Members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us make more content and hopefully do it of better quality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy blocking.